All right, so 92 Unit 3, Lesson 1. It's all about Chapter 9. 9.1 is the section, and then we add a little Pythagorean Theorem to that. So let's talk about that first. In general, we are solving problems involving radical equations. That means somewhere in them a radical is going to either be there to start with or appear as you're solving it. Remember, radical is something with a square root or cubed root or kind of radical sign in the problem. And let me start reading right here. Chapter 9 is about solving equations with radicals. If we apply our knowledge of radicals to the Pythagorean Theorem, which is right here, that's from geometry because it talks about right angles. So we can solve some practical word problems. So number 1 says the size of a computer monitor is commonly given by the length of its diagonal, not its width or length. So when you go to purchase one, they have them by diagonal inch size. And you may be coming with something that, you know you can fit a certain size one on your hanger or on your desk or whatever screen that you want, but you need to convert it into a diagonal measurement to know what you're talking about, to match them up. So there is, when you talk about a triangle, a right triangle has 3 sides, and one of those angles of the 3 angles is a right angle. The right angle, I always say the little square that tells you that this is a 90-degree angle, it points to the hypotenuse, which is the diagonal in this case, okay? Hypotenuse is another word for the diagonal in a right triangle. All right. All 3 numbers can be found using the Pythagorean Theorem. So if you know your length and width, you can find the diagonal. So let's say you want to purchase a monitor that is larger than the one you have now. You currently have one that is 9 by 3. What is the diagonal to the nearest inch? That's our question. So the right triangle can be formed by the 2 sides of the monitor. So these are the sides. So this is a side, and this is a side. All right. And then the diagonal connects those sides across the center. The 2 sides are also referred to as legs of the right triangle. Okay. And they just call them randomly A and B, but that side, one side could be B and the other one A. They're interchangeable. It doesn't matter, which is interesting because when you aren't working on the right triangles, usually the length is the longer one and the width is the shorter, and it's important which is which. When you're doing the Pythagorean Theorem, A and B are interchangeable, so that makes it easier. So the diagonal is also called the hypotenuse. If you want to be particular about it. But basically, the Pythagorean Theorem, which you have to remember, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. There's quite a few YouTube videos on explaining why that works. I'm just going to go with that's what it is at the moment. So if you find you're having a hard time remembering the formula, then maybe seeing one of the videos that says how that is formed and why that works would be helpful to you, okay? But here I don't have time, so I'm just going to go for the formula. So it said back up here we had a 9-inch by 13-inch. Don't care which one's length, which one's width. All we need to do is put one of them here and one of them here and square them. Okay, orders of operations say square everything first, then add them together. And this side still says c squared. So in other words, to solve for c, you need to square root both sides. That's going to give you the square root of 250. The square root of 250 is the square root of 25 times the square root of 10. That's going to give you the 5. So your final answer to your exact answer, I think in the homework it calls this an exact answer, so don't give it a decimal. Make sure it's a reduced radical, is 5 times the square root of 10. And to figure out what that means if you're actually shopping, feel free to put that in your calculator. 5 times the square root of 10, you'll get a diagonal that's approximately 16 inches. And they do round. When you go to pick one out, whether it's TVs or computer monitors, it is a rounded number that you're getting. It's not an exact, any of them. Okay, so it's good to know. All right, so let's try this again. So how about an IMAX theater? Number 2, an IMAX theater. The movies are projected on high resolution, in high resolution, allowing the audience to sit close to the screen. Typically, all rows are within one screen height away for optimal viewing. Standard IMAX screen is 52 feet by 72 feet. So what is the diagonal? Okay. If it helps, you can draw a little picture. And if it's 52 by 72, doesn't really matter which side is which. I just put that down. But what I'm looking for is the hypotenuse right here. So that would be the c squared in the formula. So 52 squared plus 72 squared equals c squared. 52 squared is 2704 plus 72 squared, 5184. And next step would be to add them together, 7888. And that's going to give you c squared. So then I need to square root both sides. So the square root, if I put that one in my calculator, for these really large numbers, check your instructions. And this one says round to the nearest foot. So let's go with 89 feet is the diagonal. Sorry, check your homework and see if they accept a decimal or if they're looking for a reduced sorry, I was trying to spell diagonal. A reduced radical. Okay, be prepared to do either one. Typically, when the number's that humongous, they just want a decimal. Okay, and since screens are typically given in whole numbers, they're usually rounded decimals. Okay. All right. Painter needs to lean a ladder. Not a lot of drawing room. Sorry. To reach a window. So let's say this is the ground, this is a house, and right here is the window at 12 feet up from the ground. Okay? How many feet out from the side of the house to put a 15-foot ladder? That means we don't know. You can use an X if you want to. You can say that's, what I don't know. This side, since the window is 12 feet up, this side is 12 feet. And the ladder is 15 feet. And where the bottom goes out is from here to here. And that's what I don't know. So that's either A or B, your choice. So apparently I picked on the key being a B. A and B, let me be super clear. A and B doesn't matter. C matters a lot. It's just wrong if you don't have the C all by itself on the side, and the C always refers to the hypotenuse or the diagonal, okay? And let's see, this is 144 plus B squared equals 15 squared is 225. Subtract 144. You're going to get B squared equals 81. Square root both of these, this is going to be equals 9. So apparently X or B, if you want to write a B right here, 9 feet out. Feet out. I try to remember to put my units in places. So this is the one leg or side that's missing. Okay. I always need to put a little picture of something. Let's see. A wire needed to support a vertical pole. There's a vertical pole. It's on the ground. And apparently the pole itself is 15 foot. The wire will be anchored to a stake 8 feet out from the base of the pole. How much wire is needed to hold the pole up? Must be the diagonal. That's what's missing. So let's see. So that would be 15 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 15 squared we just found out was 225. Plus 64 is 8 squared. Add them together, you get 289. Square root both sides. You're going to get 17 feet of wire needed. Okay. Let me go to another video.